A courtroom designed for intimidation becomes the place where silence shatters. When a young teacher stands accused of assault by a wealthy student's family, everyone expects her to crumble. What they don't expect is that she refuses to be erased. She rises without a lawyer, without resources, and defends herself with evidence so precise it turns the entire trial on its head. This isn't just about guilt or innocence. This is about power, lies, and the moment when truth refuses to stay buried. Stay with us because the final reveal will leave you speechless. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to hear your thoughts. The courtroom was already packed when Sarah Mitchell walked in, every seat occupied. Journalists lined the walls. A low murmur spread as heads turned toward the entrance. This wasn't an ordinary hearing. The case involved a prestigious family, serious allegations, and a defendant who had already been convicted in the court of public opinion. Sarah moved slowly toward the front. She wore a simple gray dress. Her hands were steady, though her face showed the weight of sleepless nights. She didn't search the room for friendly faces. There were none. She took her seat alone. Whispers followed her, some curious, most dismissive, many carried quiet judgment. On the opposite side sat Victor Harland, wealthy, connected, confident. Beside him, his son Ethan sat with arms crossed, his expression smug. Their attorney, Margaret Stone, was known for crushing opponents. Files were stacked neatly before them, every detail prepared. Victor glanced toward Sarah and smiled, not warmly. The way someone smiles when they've already won. The bailiff called order. "All rise." The judge entered, Judge Catherine Blake. Her movements were precise, her face unreadable. She took her seat and looked down at the file briefly. "Please be seated," she said. She confirmed names, case numbers, the nature of the hearing, a civil assault claim. Allegations of physical harm against a minor, claims seeking damages and professional consequences. Judge Blake turned to the plaintiff's table. "Ms. Stone, are you ready to proceed on behalf of Mr. Harland?" Margaret Stone stood smoothly. "Yes, Your Honor." The judge shifted her gaze. "Miss Mitchell, do you have legal representation present today?" The question hung heavy. Sarah stood. "Yes, Your Honor, I am representing myself." The murmur returned, louder this time. Margaret Stone raised her eyebrows slightly, as if amused. Victor Harland laughed openly. "This is unbelievable," he said, loud enough to be heard. Judge Blake looked at him, not with anger, with warning. "Mr. Harland, you will remain silent unless addressed." Victor lifted his hands in mock surrender, still smiling. Sarah remained standing. "Your Honor, I am aware of the risks. I choose to speak for myself." Margaret Stone rose again. "Your Honor, given the complexity of this case and the defendant's lack of legal training, we respectfully request a continuance to allow proper representation." Sarah turned toward Stone for the first time. "My lack of a law degree doesn't impair my ability to present facts." Judge Blake raised a hand. "Miss Mitchell, this court must ensure you understand the implications of self-representation. You will be held to the same standards as an attorney." "I understand," Sarah replied. "Very well," the judge said. "The court will allow Miss Mitchell to proceed pro se." The decision settled over the room like a shift in pressure. Victor leaned toward his attorney, whispering something with a grin. The judge outlined the structure: opening statements, evidence, testimony, no interruptions. "Ms. Stone, you may begin." Margaret Stone stepped forward and outlined their narrative: a teacher who lost control, a student harmed, a family seeking justice. She spoke calmly, confidently. When she finished, the judge turned to Sarah. "Miss Mitchell, your opening statement." Sarah took a breath. "I'm not here to ask for sympathy. I'm here to show what actually happened. I will present evidence. I will present witnesses. I will speak for myself because no one else was in that classroom." She paused. "You will hear assumptions made about me. I ask only to be judged by facts, not by who has the better lawyer." The room was silent. Sarah sat down. The judge nodded. "We will proceed." Before the courtroom, before the accusations, there had been a classroom. Sarah remembered it clearly. Room 204, bright windows, posters about kindness and growth. Ethan Harland had been her student for 3 months, difficult from the start, entitled, disruptive, protected by his father's name and money. The incident happened on October 12th. Sarah remembered every detail. Ethan had been throwing items across the room during a test. She'd asked him to stop. He'd laughed. She'd asked him to leave. He'd refused. When she moved toward the door to call security, he grabbed her arm. She pulled away. He stumbled backward into a desk. No injury, no mark, but a story began that day. A story where Ethan was the victim and Sarah was the aggressor. Within hours, Victor Harland had hired Margaret Stone. Within days, the accusation was public. Within weeks, Sarah was suspended pending investigation. She'd been advised to settle, to apologize, to accept professional consequences quietly. She refused, not because she was brave, because silence would follow her forever. When the hearing resumed, Margaret Stone called her first witness, Ethan Harland. He walked to the stand with practiced confidence. He described fear, pain, a teacher who lost it. Sarah listened without interruption. When Stone finished, the judge turned to Sarah. "Miss Mitchell, you may question the witness." Sarah stood. "Ethan, you stated I pushed you. Is that correct?" "Yes." "With one hand or two?" Ethan paused. I don't remember." "You don't remember how you were pushed, but you remember being pushed." "It happened fast." Sarah nodded. "How far did you fall?" "Into the desk." "Which desk?" Ethan hesitated. "The one behind me." Sarah pulled out a photograph. "This is the classroom layout. Can you point to which desk?" Ethan pointed vaguely. Sarah placed another image before him. "This is the photograph taken that same day. The desk you indicated is against the wall, 3 feet from where you were standing." The courtroom stirred. "I was confused," Ethan said. "Confused about where you fell, but certain I pushed you." Margaret Stone stood. "Your Honor, the witness is being badgered." Judge Blake raised a hand. "Miss Mitchell, limit commentary, ask questions." Sarah nodded. "Ethan, were there any witnesses?" "Yes, other students." "How many?" "I don't know exactly." "Were they questioned?" I think so." Sarah stepped back. "Thank you." Sarah called her own witness, Dr. Marcus Chen, the school's security coordinator. "Dr. Chen, does room 204 have security cameras?" "Yes." "Were they operational on October 12th? "Yes." "Did you review the footage?" "I did." Margaret Stone stood immediately. "Your Honor, if such footage exists, why wasn't it provided in discovery?" Judge Blake looked at Sarah. "It was provided," Sarah said calmly, 3 weeks ago. Exhibit 7B, Stone shuffled papers, her face tightening. The judge gestured forward. "Continue." Sarah turned to Dr. Chen. "What does the footage show?" "It shows Miss Mitchell stepping toward the door, Mr. Harland grabbing her arm, Miss Mitchell pulling away, Mr. Harland losing balance and stepping backward. No push, no contact beyond the initial grab." Silence. Victor Harland's face paled. Margaret Stone stood. "Your Honor, we object to—" "On what grounds?" Judge Blake asked. Stone hesitated. We need time to review." "You had 3 weeks," the judge said. "Objection denied." The courtroom shifted completely now. The narrative Victor Harland had built began to collapse. Sarah presented medical records, no injuries, no bruises, nothing. She presented witness statements from 3 students who corroborated the footage. She presented her own documentation, emails to administration, requests for support with Ethan's behavior, warnings ignored. When she finished, the room was silent. Judge Blake reviewed the evidence carefully. Then she looked at Victor Harland. "Mr. Harland, I have a question." Victor straightened, his confidence cracking. "Did you review the security footage before filing this claim?" Victor hesitated. I trusted my son." "That wasn't the question." "No, I did not." Judge Blake nodded slowly. "This court finds the evidence overwhelmingly supports the defendant. The claim is dismissed with prejudice." She paused. "Furthermore, I am referring this matter for investigation into filing a fraudulent claim." Victor stood abruptly. "You can't." "Sit down, Mr. Harland." Sarah felt her knees weaken. It was over. Outside, Sarah stood on the courthouse steps. The air felt different, lighter. A reporter approached. "Miss Mitchell, how does it feel?" Sarah looked at the camera. "It feels like truth still matters." If you've ever felt powerless, if you've ever been silenced, drop a comment below. Share this story. Let someone know they're not alone. Truth doesn't need money, it just needs a voice. What's yours?